Okay, welcome. This is called the mole. You're going to need your reference tables and a calculator for this unit. So let's get started. There are three ways you can measure a material. You can measure something like a dozen apples means 12. But you can also take that dozen apples and you can figure out its mass, which would be about, 2 kilograms. And you could also take those 12 apples and you could put them into a bushel and see it's 0.2s of a bushel. So the dozen can mean three different things. It can mean something that we count, it's something that we can measure by mass, and something that we can measure by volume. So Avogadro's number is 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd. And this is the count part. You know how we said 1 dozen equals 12? Well, 1 mole equals this number. It's on Honors Reference Table A under Avogadro number. If you are not in the honors class and you don't have that, don't worry about it. You'll use it enough. And so there we have our entire number written out in the standard form. It's 602 and then 21 zeros. That is a big number. And this represents the number of particles in 1 mole. It's named after Amedeo Avogadro, which you don't really need to know. So 1 mole is 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd particles of a substance. It is metric, so you're going to find it on reference table D right on the front, and you'll see that it says quantity, amount of a substance, 1 mole. And yes, mole can be abbreviated as MOL. Wow, what a big time saver. But anyways, this is towards the back of your notes. This is our mole map, and if you can read a map, you follow the arrows. Notice that there's no direct route between mass and number of particles, or volume and mass directly. So we have to kind of go through this as like a rotary or a traffic circle in the center. And if you follow the arrows, we can figure it out. But now we need those conversion factors. We need those numerical values that equal. So 1 mole equals blank. And that's what we're going to need to figure out. The first portion here we're going to focus on is moles to particles, that leg of the journey. So to convert moles to particles, every time we go from moles to something else, we multiply, multiplication. And every time we come back, we're going to divide. So later on, we're going to talk about going between moles and volume, and that's going to be multiplying. Moles and mass will be multiplying. Going back is dividing. This is going to be a really useful document to refer back to. But anyways, we are focusing on moles to particles. What is our conversion factor? Remember, 1 mole equals 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd particles. So to go from moles to particles, you multiply by that quantity. Okay, that's it. All right, it is time to do some math. So grab your calculator. Convert 0.67 moles of a substance to number of particles. So here we go. 0.67 moles. Remember dimensional analysis? Here we go. We're going to multiply by Avogadro's number, which is 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd equals 1 mole. That way we can cancel out moles and you get your answer. Now there are many ways you can do this multiplication, but I'm going to show you my friendly way that I like. We're going to multiply coefficients. So we're going to multiply 0.67 times 6.02, and that's it. Don't worry about that times 10 to the 23rd. And so if I just multiply 0.67 times 6.02, I get 4.0334 times 10 to the 23rd. I tack that back on. Now I need to make sure that it's in proper scientific notation. So to make sure I have that, this coefficient here, this whatever, 4.0334, that is between 1 and almost 10. So it is. And then I have my times 10 to the 23rd. I don't forget my units. And if I was rounding to proper sig figs, I would take them from the given, which was 2 sig figs. So I just go with 4.0. If you are not asked to round to significant figures, 1 or 2 decimal places is good. You don't need to go crazy. But that wasn't so bad. Converting from moles to particles, you multiply. And I don't care that I sound ridiculous. If it helps you remember, that's wonderful. Now, going back, we will divide by Avogadro's number. So let's try that one. 2.67 times 10 to the 24th molecules or particles to moles. So we're going to divide by 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd. Now, you could put all that stuff into your calculator. Don't forget carats. Don't forget parentheses. But here's how I do it. I'm going to divide coefficients this time. So 2.67 divided by 6.02. And I get 0.4435, all this other stuff. I'm not going to write all that down. Now, when you divide, you will subtract exponents. So you get times 10 to the 24 minus 23, which is 1. Now, this number, 0.4435 times 10 to the first, is not in proper scientific notation. How can you tell? Because my original number is not between 1 and almost 10. It's less than 1. So think of it as a teeter-totter or seesaw. I need to make this front number between 1 and almost 10. So if I move my decimal place one spot to the right, I do have a number between 1 and 10. Now, moving my decimal place one spot to the right is multiplying by 10, which means this is my other side of the teeter-totter. I need to divide that by 10, which would be 10 to the 0. And then I'm going to continue on and say 10 to the 0 is 1, so I'm going to have 4.435. And then I'm going to say, maybe I need my answer rounded to proper sig figs. If you don't, you're lucky. But if you do, you take them from the given, which is 2.67, which is 3 sig figs. So I say 4.44. And then, of course, you put your units, which are moles. Now, if you don't like the way I did my math, you are certainly welcome to divide it any way you'd like in your calculator using the caret button or the E button or whatever. But I find that easy. And so that's what works for me. Okay? So, wait, let's go back. And there's probably a better way. Okay, so here we have our mole map. So it depends on what page it is in your book, so find it. It's towards the back. Between moles and number of particles, I want you to write times 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd. You multiply by Avogadro's number. And coming back, you will divide by 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd. And you should probably include to the side, this is Avogadro's. I can never remember if it's A or O. Avogadro's number. And no, he's not related to avocados. For whatever reason, people always think that it is. All right, so now that section of our mole map is complete. Anytime you multiply away, multiply away, and then you will divide coming back to the land of moles. Okay? All right, thanks.